Good afternoon, all. Thank you so much for coming here today in support of the Yazidi people. Your support is greatly appreciated. A special thank you to City Councillor of Toronto, James, and a new author of World Genocide, Heidi. And thank you all for coming here in support for the Yazidi. A special thanks to Canadian Jews and Friends for Yazidi, which have been standing with us from the first day of the genocide. And a special thank you to CYCI and Art of Living for their great effort in rescuing many Yazidi, especially elder women and children. And thank you all for coming here today. 10 years ago, on August 3, 2014, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria started their most brutal genocide campaign against the indigenous Yazidi in northern Iraq, Shingal and Nineveh Plain, to wipe us out from the face of the earth. The indigenous Yazidi suffered unthinkable harm at the hands of the Islamic State. 10 years later, first masterminded its attack against the indigenous Yazidi. Our suffering continues today because thousands remain missing to this day. However, I have said many times before that the Yazidi genocide was pre-planned by KRG leader Masoud Barzani, planned to eradicate the indigenous Yazidi to create an Islamic State in Kurdistan. In mid-June 2014, the KRG security force, a so-called Asaish, started their search in the Yazidi region of Shingal and Nineveh Plain. The Yazidi and Kildo Syrian Christian collected their weapons by force, so the Yazidi would be weak and self-defenseless, and his plans would be successful. But fortunately, Barzani's dream did not come true. Nevertheless, when ISIS entered the Yazidi region in the early morning hours on August 3rd and started its brutal killing campaign, the KRG had more than 12,000 Peshmerga in Sinjar region, allegedly to protect them, and promised to protect us. On July 15, I and my Assyrian colleague and Christian bishop were in DC for 1 week, and we asked the US government that the genocide will take place anytime against us. Iraqi government, Iraqi military was defeated by ISIS on the border of Iraq, Syria. And the ISIS already take Mosul, Tel Afar, and most of the central Iraq. The Department of State told us, be assured that Barzani promised will keep the religious minority, the Yazidi and Christian. But that didn't happen. The ISIS entered the region and started its brutal killing. The Peshmerga withdrew, many of them withdrew, and according to one of the leader of the Peshmerga, who became ISIS leader in Raqqa, he told one of the Yazidi survivors that over 5,000 of the Peshmerga joined up with their ISIS brother because this is a jihad and they are killing infidels for God. So we are infidels and they wanted to eradicate us. The Yazidi with their very light weapon tried to fight as much as they could with their hidden rifle 47 for 4 or 5 hours until they ran out of ammunition, while the women and children were running towards the mountain for safety. As I said, the Yazidi genocide was pre-planned And if Barzani was able to eradicate the Yazidi and other indigenous minority from the Sumerian land, the Muslim state in the region who supported ISIS will accept an Islamic state of Kurdistan for Barzani. Hence, the Yazidi with their hidden weapon could not continue their fight against ISIS. And then the ISIS took over the region. According to UN, an estimated of 5,000 Yazidi were killed. But according to the Yazidi, more than 10,000 Yazidi were killed. According to a survivor who I met, who was a slave of ISIS leader, or a so-called Amir, she saw the record that 7,450 mostly young Yazidi women and children were kidnapped by ISIS. Those young women were subjected to sexual slavery and were bought and sold, some of them at the cost of a pack of cigarettes. And older children were trained to be a suicide bomber or child soldier and fight for ISIS. Currently, we have an estimated 2,700 Yazidi, mostly young women and children, are held by ISIS family in the Middle Eastern region. Just recently, I received a call from an escaped Yazidi. She lives in Canada too. She received a phone call through the Facebook from a Yazidi girl who was 11 years old when she was abducted and her family was killed. She is found in Gaza Strip. She was found in Gaza Strip. She is now in Gaza, and she is screaming for help. The UN is silent. The international community is silent. So who do we go and ask for help? None of the Western countries try to help. But they were able to give support aid. I know Canada donated more than $300 million through KRG for the displaced people, whether they're Yazidi Christian or Shia Muslim, who faced genocide too. None of the victims saw this money. So I am sure the US have donated more money, and the Europe had donated more money, and Australia and other European countries. So a people with over 12,000 armed militia promising the US to protect the Yazidi and Christian religious minority in the Middle East, especially in Iraq. But instead, they betrayed us and they break that promise. And unfortunately, the US today is silent toward what the KRG promised them. But some of the Kurdish victims, one of the senators in the US is helping them, and they brought Barzani's son to court in the US. We hope that Canada do the same thing and bring Barzani to justice and ask him why did he betray on Yazidi for an Islamic state? What was his reason? If they eradicate the most indigenous people of Somalia, what Barzani would win? Last but not least, I would like to thank the Hashd Shahabi, who really fought against ISIS and liberated Iraq from the hands of ISIS. That came into power when Sistani issued a statement and asking to form a popular mobilization forum to fight against ISIS. Our recommendation for Canada and international community is support an autonomous region for the Yazidi and Kildua Syrian Christian in Sinjar and Nineveh Plain under the international protection. Form a rescue team to liberate the remaining 2,700 Yazidi held by ISIS families in Al-Hol camp and Idlib prison in Syria. We urgently demand the Minister of Immigration and Citizenship Canada to reunite the Yazidi family member with their families here in Canada. We ask the international community to put pressure on KDP, PUK, and PKK to stop their fortification project in the Yazidi and Kildwa Syrian region in Nineveh Plain and Sinjar region. We ask the international community to liberate the Yazidi children from the PKK. We ask the international community, the international aid must be directly sent to the Yazidi and other affected groups, i.e. not via corrupted KRG. We demand the UN to order ISIS perpetrator, including Salah Karabash, whose background from Turkmen in Iraq, who was one of the ISIS leaders and in charge of buying and selling the Yazidi women and girls. He's now provided safe haven by Barzani in KRG, and there are hundreds of other ISIS leaders and ISIS family are protected by Barzani today in the Erbil city and Slemania and Duhok. I am asking each and all of you to contact with your representative and ask them to fulfill their promise to reunite the Yazidi families here in Canada. When Canada had an interview in northern Iraq with the Yazidi survival, they told them that when you go to Canada, your family member will follow you. And some of them have been in Canada for the last 7 years, and Canada has not fulfilled its promise. So we ask our government to take an action, an immediate action, to reunite the Yazidi family now. Also, I would like to say, supporting Barzani and his KRG is not less than supporting ISIS, and it's not less than supporting Boko Haram, and it's not less than supporting Hamas. All have radical ideology to eradicate, to annihilate the most indigenous people from their own indigenous land.